Hey mamas, this is Playfully Faithful Parenting, and I'm your host, Joy Wendling. I'm a seminary grad and children's and family minister turned stay-at-home mom to my 5 girls. Spiritual parenting is my calling, and it's my passion to help other mamas disciple their kids using the power of play and their own authentic daily walk with Christ. If you're a mama who wants to introduce your kids to Jesus and watch as the Holy Spirit transforms their lives, this is the place for you. I'm so glad you're here. So let's dive in and see how we can partner with God today. Hey mamas, I am so excited. Today I'm sharing with you a conversation I had with my dear friend, Taylor Irby. Taylor is a fellow mom of 5 and a fellow Connected Families certified parenting coach. And so this was our first time kind of talking face to face, and it was just so sweet. She has so much motherhood experience and so many great things to pass on. We talk about adoption and play. We talk about teens and how we can set up our kids when they're young to still talk to us when they're teenagers. We talk about having a family culture and just sharing in your child's world. And I just so excited for you to get to hear all that she has to share. So here we go.
Hello, Taylor. Thank you so much for being here on Playfully Faithful Parenting. How are you doing today?
I'm good, Joy. How are you?
I'm great. I'm so excited to finally chat with you. We have been Marco Poloing for over a month now, I think, and just finally talking kind of face to face over Zoom is so fun.
It is really fun. I've so enjoyed getting to know you, Joy.
You too. Would you tell my audience about yourself?
Sure. Well, I am a mom of 5 children, ages 15 down to 5, wife to Josh of 18 years. We are on staff with Crew, which used to be called Campus Crusade for Christ. And we were in Sarajevo, Bosnia for 11 years, serving as missionaries there with young people. So we're now in Atlanta. We moved back during the pandemic, and we work on the staff of Cruise City Global. So we're kind of working on the sending side of things now and the partnership side of things now. And then I'm also a certified life coach and parenting coach.
Awesome. And that is where we connected, is through Connected Families parent coaching. So on our podcast, we define spiritual parenting or Christian parenting as living out your authentic faith in front of your kids and then inviting them to get to know who God is. We do this based on Deuteronomy 6, verses 4 through 9. What does spiritual or Christian parenting look like in your house? And what does that term, that role mean to you?
Yeah, I love that question, Joy. I read over it and I just kind of thought through kind of the years, and I think it's just kind of been like seasons. So we've always just had a prayer that our children would not just grow up as missionary kids or children in the ministry, but that they would really own their faith for themselves. They would really make a choice to follow Jesus. And so we have, done our best to teach them about the word and to play with them and to introduce them and take them to church. But we know that ultimately it is their choice. And so for our really young children, we would read them Bible stories and we would pray together at the table, and we would just kind of lead them by example, and always lead by example, right? As they've gotten older, we have made sure that we were connected with a really strong church that had a strong youth group. But I think the meat and the bones of this has come after dinner, when our children come and ask us hard questions, especially our older kids, when our younger kids are in bed, and we have, questions that they've had at school where they're not going to find the answer at school that comes from a biblical perspective. And so we'll have conversations on the couch. And I think that for me has been the most incredible kind of spiritual parenting because it feels like life on life and that they are trusting us with these hard issues. And so I think it's kind of ranged in between. We're singing Bible songs and we're learning Bible verses together. We're making fun little videos together of scripture set to song. But as they've gotten older, it's deep conversations and it's doing life with them and enjoying their friends with them.
And one of the things that I have loved about getting to know you is just the way you love teenagers and you love your kids as teenagers. Yeah, and like most of the conversations we have on here are about younger kids because my kids are only, 9 and under. And even though I worked in youth ministry, that was a few years ago. And so things have changed and I've never parented a teen yet. And so I love how excited you get about talking about your teenagers. It's so fun. And so we, just tell me a little bit more about how you think you set up your kids to have those deep conversations with you as teenagers. I know this isn't something we planned, but.
Fine. I love talking about teenagers. So I remember when I had my first child and she was the easiest baby. She was very just quiet and she slept and she ate well. And everyone was just saying, oh, she's so precious. Just wait till she's a teenager. And they kept saying that to me. And I kind of made a vow, which I don't usually make vows, but I made a vow in my heart that I'm going to enjoy the teenage years. And I remember my mom saying, you're going to enjoy every single stage. Every stage is a blessing. And so I just kind of set it in my mind that there's going to be challenges in teen years, but there's also challenges in little years. And yeah, they're definitely more emotionally draining, the challenges that come with the teenage years. But that's kind of the opportunity to be able to really grow a deep relationship. And so your question was, how did we set it up? I think it's just continuing to maintain relationship with our kids. So we've cared about their big things that were big to them when they were little, that were upsetting them, that kind of seem silly to an adult. We try to care about, we try to come alongside them and do life with them as they were little. And I think it was a bit easier for us being in a foreign country where we only had each other. And so most of their formative years, they really only had each other. They had friends, they had school, but home was really that refuge for them. And so as they're getting older, we've just tried to stay in their world. Like, for example, my son is 14 and he's just really big into the 80s pop culture right now. And he came to me and he said, Mom, I really want to watch The Breakfast Club. Will you watch it with me? And, I could have said, that's really inappropriate. We're not going to watch that. It has a lot of bad language and a lot of inappropriate talk or whatever. And, I was like, he's going to watch it anyway. He's going to find a way. I can either choose to be all uptight about this, or I can just enjoy it with him. And so I stayed up till midnight one night and we watched The Breakfast Club together and we laughed. And now we have that shared culture where we always have inside jokes with each other and funny memes that we share. And so I would just say, if you're a parent of a young child, don't be afraid of those teenage years. Look forward to them. And yes, when they do have the issues, it is really, really challenging, but just holding on to that connected parenting and really loving them through it, it will go so far. And yeah, just sharing their world with them.
I love that. Yeah, I've been really convicted maybe recently, just thinking the pink plate is important. If the pink plate isn't important enough for my 5-year-old to throw herself on the floor and kick, then it should be important to me. And sure, I should take, those extra 10, 15 seconds that it takes to dig through the pile of plates to find the pink one for her. Sure. Yeah. And I mean, that's what I heard, you saying is making those little things matter to you as well.
Yeah. And it doesn't mean that we're bending over backwards and coddling our children and giving them everything they want, but find what is the thing that's really important. If it's the pink plate and that's the big deal, do we need to really fight over that? And what does it really send to our children message wise? Does it send what's important to you is important to me? And I think that's just really key, is finding those things that are really important and really listening to our children when they're upset, being that safe place for them.
Yes. I love that. So can you tell me, you've talked about some connected parenting. Can you tell me a little bit about play? Because to me, that's a big part of, being connected with your kids. Tell me a little bit about play in your family, your faith, your discipleship, building these relationships with your kids.
Yeah, I can remember one of the earliest memories I have of play with one of my children. So Elijah, who's my 14-year-old, when he was not even 2, or I think he just turned 2, he was really big into David and Goliath. And he loved to tell the story of David and Goliath. And I remember being outside with him, and I was Goliath. I'm 6'1". Okay. So I'm this giant and he's this little guy, and he wanted to be David. And he had, a pretend little slingshot and a little rock, and he wouldn't like throw a rock at me, but he memorized the script from the Jesus Storybook Bible, and he would recite it, and I would fall on the ground. And then he would say, okay, Mom, let's do it again. And we'd do it over and over and over, but having like that story is cemented in his mind. And so like, I'm thinking about play when they were really small, acting out Bible stories, playing on the playground with them, like putting my phone away. I mean, Joy and I are having this little, social media fast for the weekend. And it's really helped me engage with my kids more, talking about what they want to talk about, playing with them on their level. But then as they get older, doing things they want to do. So my 10-year-old is a little bit older, and she wanted to go get coffee. And so we went to Starbucks, and I got her a little apple cider thing, and I got a coffee, and we are going through this little book together, and that's sweet time for her. I don't think play has to look like we're silly and energetic. And, and I remember like there was a time when I had chronic back pain where I could barely move. And so I invited the children in the bed with me to watch movies. Something we like to do as a full family, because our youngest is 5, but developmentally he's around 2. And then our oldest is 15. That's a huge range. We started watching through all the Marvel movies together. And I'm not a Marvel fan. Like, I've never really liked that, but they're like, you're going to like it, Mom. And so we started from the very beginning, and I think we're on now movie 10, but we just kind of watch those movies together. And so we have that shared family culture where the 5-year-old can play Captain America and the 15-year-old can play it with him, because we share that. And so I think that is what like the essence of play is, having that shared fun and that time to really enjoy each other and no agenda.
I love that. And I love how you keep talking about your family kind of having its own culture.
Yeah.
I think that's really important, especially as we, as Christians, are kind of supposed to be in the world, but not of the world. And so for a kid to come home and have it be their safe place, like you were talking about, and to know that this is their culture is what's being built in the home. Going out into the world can make it a little bit easier.
Right. Yeah. I remember Sally Clarkson, who is amazing if you don't listen to her or follow her, but she had once said, when my children were quite small, she said, if you don't build your family culture, your children will just absorb into the world's culture. And so I really held on to that. And we worked hard to read aloud really, really strong books to our children, and really good, wholesome literature, and share those books as well, and have tea time and all these wonderful things with our kids. And that has shaped, who we are.
Yeah, that's awesome. So I know a few years ago, you adopted your youngest son, and you told me about what a role play had in bringing him home and the bonding with him. Would you tell us about that?
Sure. So Isaac is our little guy, Isaac Marian. He is from Eastern Bulgaria. And when we brought him home, so if you're not familiar with the adoption world, there is so much trauma, no matter where your child has come from. So thankfully, Isaac had come from a quite loving foster home, but there was still trauma of being separated from his culture and from his foster parents, and just from everything he knew, into this place where nobody spoke language that he understood. Sights, smells, food, everything was different. As much as we tried to keep it the same as much as we could, it's just impossible. And so we had heard from some adoptive families that it was really important to do a stage of what we called cocooning, which is we just stay home and we keep it quiet. We don't have a ton of visitors over, and we just try to just kind of come around our child, like similar like what you would do when you have a newborn baby, is you stay home for a while. And I registered, some people wanted to give us some gifts for Isaac, because I just kind of made a registry of a bunch of different kinds of toys for the bath, toys for the living room, toys for sleep, all these even toys for mealtime, just to kind of have a variety of different toys so that we could have a way to connect with Isaac, because we didn't speak the same language and we didn't have the same culture. But what we did know is that he was 2.5 years old, and most 2.5-year-old children love to play. And so that was the only thing that we had to share, was play. And so I remember the first morning that he was home, actually like the first 10 days we were in our apartment in Bulgaria, we just had all these toys we would try to play with. But when the first morning that he woke up in our home in America and all of our children were there, he woke up around 6 a.m. and it was still dark. And I took him into the living room and I sat with him on the floor and I pulled out one of those toys with the balls that you hit and they go down the little chute. And that's all I would do, was just hit. And then I would give him the hammer and he would hit it. And then my youngest daughter, Zoe, she was 4. She came to the living room a little bit after that, and she sat down on the floor next to us. And all 3 of us just started taking turns hitting that ball. And it was like we had that moment of enjoyment, even though he didn't really know who we were and what was going on. He knew that we were safe because we were speaking his language, the only language he had, which was the language of play. And so I think it's just really important for adoptive parents, especially, to invest in a few, it doesn't have to be a gazillion, but just a few, simple toys that can kind of foster that relationship with your adopted child before you have that established connection.
That's great. I love, and that you also invited a community to come in and help in that way of play. And that's just a really great way to, like when you have those toys, you're thinking about the people who sent them, even though they can't be there with you.
Absolutely. Yeah. People want, when you're adopting a child, like people want to help, and it's hard sometimes to ask for that help. But as soon as, one of my friends said, I want to throw a shower for you, or other people would say, what does Isaac want? I want to give him something. Just being able to say, here's a list, pick something off of it. It was just really helpful. And then we had someone else offer to set up a meal train, it was great to be able to kind of take off that pressure of all the other things to really focus on him and what he needed.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that, really like those moments you talked about, not having like even a shared language, but that you could use play as his, shared language and the only language he has. That's just really beautiful. And I know like there's such power in play in bonding, like for bonding with each other. And I think even if we can recognize that power of bonding with play, that we can begin to introduce that into, faith, and the way you talked about the David and Goliath story. Like, your son is a teenager and he probably remembers that as well, and can identify a little bit with David. And, he's talking about you being tall and him being small.
He's now taller than I am. He could be Goliath now, but yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And so he has that special bond with that story and with you through the play, and, inviting your daughter to come in and play with Isaac in that moment. And I just love the beauty that play brought to those relationships.
Yeah, I love it too. It also just took off so much pressure to, I don't know, I think as adults, we forget how to play, and we forget how to just have fun with no agenda. And so being able just to enjoy our children without the agenda of trying to get something or modify a behavior or teach them something or get something done, but just enjoying them. And I feel like play is a great way to just enjoy each other.
Absolutely. And I'm sure during those first few months with Isaac, there were lots of behaviors that you would have liked to try to modify.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, totally, totally.
But you prioritized the relationship and used play to do that.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
I like to think about when you have a newborn baby and you're looking at that baby's face, and when that, a little bit later, when that baby first opens their eyes and starts to respond to you, we naturally we play with them. We're like, oh, hello. We're making these silly faces and these silly voices. We're not wanting to have a conversation with them. Right. And so it's very similar. I mean, our child's a bit older when he comes home, but we're able to use that play as an initial bonding.
And I also love the simplicity of the play that you've talked about, 3 different ones of just the one toy with the ball and the hitting the ball, the David and Goliath story. It was very simple. And then even just, piling in your bed, watching movies together, just the simplicity of that, and that we don't have to have these big, elaborate, Pinterest worthy playtimes to bond with our kids.
Absolutely.
And that's just one of the messages that I want, families to hear, is that play can be so simple, simple.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think a big part of it is learning how to play again as an adult and tapping into what we used to do so naturally and what we used to crave.
Absolutely. Yes. So is there anything else that you would like to share about play or your family?
Oh my goodness. I would just say that if you are a mom and you're just struggling to play and you just, I'm like, I don't remember how, and I don't like to play with my kids, and I don't even know how to play, just as an adult, you're not alone. I've struggled with that so much and had to learn how to just go back and take away all the things I'm trying to prove for myself, and really just enjoy life again. And so if that's your struggle, you're not going crazy. You're probably pretty normal. And
yes.
So just continuing to listen to Joy's podcast and pray and ask the Lord to open those doors for you to have enjoyment of life once again.
Yes.
It's possible, and there's hope.
Absolutely. And I think sometimes it's just a mind shift of recognizing sitting down and drinking a cup of coffee or tea as play.
Absolutely.
And just even, changing how you think about things can bring more of a playfulness to them. So right. Yes, that is totally a great reminder. So how can we get in touch with you if my listeners want to know more about you, want to follow you, want to check out any of the things that you offer?
Yeah. So I have a website. It's taylorirbycoaching.com. And then you can also find me on Facebook at Taylor Irby Coaching and on Instagram at Taylor Irby Coaching. And I would love to get in touch with you. So message me or follow me, and let's get connected.
Great. And the last thing I always like to ask is, I believe moms need play as well. So how do you like to play, Taylor?
Oh my goodness, so many things. So I love to go on walks with my dog. My dog is one of my favorite things because he always likes me. And so, getting outside with him, and even if it's going for a short lap around the block, it's just so life-giving to me. I love to paint my toenails. And I love to take showers, which doesn't sound like play, but for me, it feels luxurious. I love going to coffee or tea with friends, and I love cooking. I really love creating a beautiful cup of tea. And so when it's cold outside, I love fixing myself a cup of very strong English breakfast tea, and then whipping up fresh whipped cream It has to be fresh, not from a can, and putting it on top of my whipped cream with a little bit of cinnamon. It's one of my favorite treats. So it's more than just a treat for me. It's a ritual, and it brings me lots of joy. So those are the things I love to do as far as play is concerned for me.
Absolutely. I love that. And I still need to try the tea with whipped cream.
Girl, I'm totally going to make you one when we finally get together in real life.
Yes.
So
September.
good. Yes, I can't wait.
Yes.
Oh, one more thing. I love, so we live right off of this town square, and there's lots of artsy fartsy restaurants. So my husband and I love to go on dates and discover all there is to offer over there. So that's just one more thing.
Yes.
Don't
Fun. So fun. Well, Taylor, it has been so fun chatting, and I've loved having you here. And I think you will just speak to, that group of listeners that have adopted or that are just looking to build play into their family culture. I think that's great. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Joy.
Well, mamas, that's it for today. Thanks for joining me on Playfully Faithful Parenting. I'd love to keep the conversation going over on the socials. You can find me on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. If you felt encouraged or equipped by today's show, do me a favor and leave a review. I can't wait to hear your story. Till next week, keep playing and pointing those littles to Christ.